What is going on, gang? CJ Curry here, just dropping by for a quick NBA video. We've only got 2 games on today's NBA slate, so there's not a ton for us to talk about. News just broke that Damian Lillard's questionable. We've got Markelle Fultz questionable for the Orlando Magic, so some pending injury news that could potentially shake up things on today's slate. Guys, if you're not subscribed to the channel, now's a great time for you to subscribe. Turn on all notifications for the channel and definitely slap that like button for me. We just passed 10,800 subscribers. We're on our way to 11,000, and I'd like for you to join me in helping me reach that goal. Appreciate all the support. All right, if you're not playing on PrizePicks yet, make a deposit for the very first time. Use code Curry, and they're going to match you dollar for dollar up to $100. I've left a link for you down in the description of today's video. As I mentioned, for today's news and notes from the association, we've got Giannis Antetokounmpo. He is listed as probable for today. Damian Lillard, questionable. As I mentioned, that news just came out. I'm not sure if Lillard's playing or not. I believe they are on a back-to-back, so there might be a chance that they rest Damian Lillard in this one. And then Markelle Fultz, who's missed the last 3 games, he is slated as questionable. So his absence would mean that more playing time goes to the likes of Cole Anthony, Jalen Suggs, and of course, rookie Anthony Black, who's been starting in his spot. Now, if he's out, Paolo Banchero has been putting up some really good numbers over the last 3 games. Those are 3 games in which Fultz hasn't played, and the last 2 games, more importantly, are games without Wendell Carter Jr., their starting center. He's dealing with a broken hand. So without further ado, a couple of the picks that I'm looking at over on PrizePicks are from this Orlando Magic and Atlanta Hawks game. The first one that I wanted to bring to your attention, it's already been tweaked slightly on PrizePicks because, you know, that's how PrizePicks likes to do things. But we're going to take a look at this first half play of Trae Young. First half points, rebounds, and assists. Now, this one started out at 18.5 first half PRA. It's been bumped down to 17.5 PRA, but I still think that taking the under on Trae Young in this case may not be that bad of a look. Here's why it's a solid option. We take a look at where he's at on props.cash. This is his game logs from this NBA season. You can kind of see that at 17.5 points, rebounds, and assists. He's only went over this number once, and it was barely over against a piss-poor Washington Wizards team. Outside of that, he's gone under his first half points, rebounds, and assists number with 14, 16, 16, 15, and 15 in his most recent game. Here's what I'll tell you about the Orlando Magic. As far as defensive ratings go and efficiency goes, they're one of the best teams in the NBA right now. Looking at this simple DVP, defense versus position chart, when you sort it by fantasy score and point guard, you go all the way down to the bottom here. You see that the Orlando Magic are only giving up about 46.4 fantasy score. That basically equates to about 24 points per game, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists. So they're one of the best defensive teams against opposing point guards. But maybe you don't consider Trae Young to be the point guard on the team. Maybe you consider that to be DeJounte Murray. Don't worry, I've got you covered. Here's what we'll do. We'll go over to the shooting guard position on this DVP chart. We'll go back down to the bottom here, and you can see that the Orlando Magic are giving up the second fewest fantasy points per game to opposing shooting guards. So if you think Trae Young's maybe more of the shooting guard and less of the point guard on the team, no problem. Orlando's even better at guarding shooting guards, giving up just 20.6 points per game, a little under 6 rebounds, and about 4.5 assists per game. So what I'm trying to tell you is, defensively, they've been very good against both point guards and shooting guards, and overall one of the better defensive teams. So even though this has been bumped down from 18.5 to 17.5, I still think that there's a little bit of value here in taking the under at 17.5 first half PRA. As I mentioned before, he's only hit this one time this season, and tonight he's got a tough matchup against the Orlando Magic. Now, on the flip side of that game, from the Orlando side, we've got Paolo Banchero. I mentioned how well he's been playing in the last few games. He's really stepped his game up in the absence of Markelle Fultz and in the absence of Wendell Carter Jr. Well, you're going to be without Wendell Carter Jr. for sure. As I mentioned, he's got a broken hand. Now, Markelle Fultz, we talked about him. He's questionable, so you might want to take the wait-and-see approach on this one. Okay? If you're not sure about Fultz being in and how that will impact Banchero, then by all means, you can wait and see. But let's talk about this one real quick, because this one kind of stood out to me as well. Paolo Banchero, of the Orlando Magic. Now, you could go fantasy score on this one, or you could go PRA. The last 3 games, though, he's absolutely been rocking. 20 first half PRA against Utah. He stepped it up even further with 22 first half PRA. And then once again goes even higher with 23 first half PRA. So he's went 3 out of his last 3 games without Fultz, and the last 2 games without Wendell Carter Jr. So he's in a pretty good spot today. Going back to this FanDuel DVP chart, I just want to show you power forwards against the Atlanta Hawks. Atlanta, one of the most giving teams when it comes to fantasy score. Now, fantasy score, again, is comprised of points, rebounds, assists, blocks, steals, and of course turnovers. But just looking at where they rank here, they're one of the top 10 most giving teams to the power forward position. So you see they give it up over 26 points per game, almost 10 rebounds per game, and over 5.5 assists per game. So the matchup is definitely there. It's a good one for Paolo Banchero, especially at this number, 17.5 PRA. It's a line, like I said, that he's crushed over the last 3 games. Now, if Markelle Fultz plays tonight, maybe that shakes things up for Banchero just a little bit. But you can see in the games that he has gone over, he's gone over by 3, 5, and 6 PRA. So he definitely still has a chance with Markelle Fultz being in to go over this line. Now, another guy that I'm going to throw on your radar, an honorable mention. We talked about Wendell Carter Jr., who has been out, is this young fella, Goga Bitadze of the Orlando Magic. Now, Goga has been starting at the center spot in the absence of Wendell. So the over at 8.5 points, rebounds, and assists, or you could go and take Bitadze over his fantasy score as well, because he does get some of that shot blocking upside, and those are worth 3 fantasy points for each shot that he blocks. But I think the better matchup is probably for Banchero, but if you want to take a look at Goga Bitadze and his numbers real quick, again, this is Props.Cash. If you're not using it yet, use code Curry, 25% off your first month. Link down in the description. But Goga Bitadze here at 10 PRA versus the Lakers, 13 PRA versus the Dallas Mavericks. So his line is pretty lightweight at just 8.5 PRA. So I would think that the over is definitely achievable for Goga. And then just taking a look at his first half fantasy score, you can see what he's done here. 14.5 first half fantasy against LA, and then 20.2 against Dallas. So one more look at this DVP chart here on the Fantasy Pros website. And you can see that the Atlanta Hawks, as far as fantasy points given up to centers over the last 10 games or so, however many games they've played this season, 53.1, which kind of puts them like right in the middle of the pack. They're just kind of an average team when it comes to defending opposing centers. So those are 3 picks, all first half picks for you to consider. You can go Bitadze over first half PRA. You could go Bitadze over first half fantasy score. Same thing with Banchero. You could take his fantasy score if you prefer that. I mean, he's put up 29.2, 25.9, and 22.6 fantasy score and is in a good matchup against the Hawks. Or if you prefer to take the first half PRA, like I said, it has been bumped up 1 point, rebound, and assist, but still doable for him at 17.5. And then on the other side, like I mentioned, Trae Young just hasn't been performing very well and is in a tough matchup against Orlando tonight. That's already been bumped down from 18.5 to 17.5. And then you've also got the option of taking his fantasy score if you prefer, but he does have some green in there in the fantasy score, whereas the PRA is all red and nothing but red. So those are a few different options, Bitadze, Banchero, and Trae Young. Guys, if you appreciate what I'm doing, like I said, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, turn on all those notifications. I go live. I do these videos each and every day here on YouTube. We'll catch you tomorrow. All right? Good luck tonight on your entries.